Last fall, I finally got something I hadn't had in almost 3 years, nearly 2 weeks off work. I was 31 then, working as an electrical technician in North Carolina, and most of my time was spent traveling between job sites. Long hours had become normal, so when my vacation was approved, I decided not to waste it. My parents lived in a small town in northern Vermont, and I figured surprising them would be better than telling them I was coming. The only person who knew was my younger sister, because I needed someone to make sure they would actually be home. Flying would have been easier, but I wanted my SUV with me, so I left just before sunset and planned to drive through the night. I figured I'd avoid traffic, make good time, and be pulling into my parents' driveway sometime the next afternoon. The first several hours were exactly what you'd expect. Music playing, cruise control on, and nothing but highway stretching ahead of me. I stopped twice for gas, grabbed coffee, and kept going. A little after midnight, everything changed. My GPS suddenly chimed and displayed a detour because of a highway closure several miles ahead. I didn't think much of it. Detours happen all the time. I followed the directions, exited the interstate, and soon found myself on a narrow 2-lane road cutting through dense forest. There weren't any streetlights anymore, just my headlights and endless trees on both sides. About 20 minutes later, a thick fog rolled over the road. It wasn't gradual. It felt like I had driven straight into a cloud. 1 second I could see a few hundred feet ahead, and the next I could barely make out the yellow center line. My phone lost service completely, and the GPS map froze. There weren't any houses, businesses, or other cars. It honestly felt like the rest of the world had disappeared behind that wall of white. After hours behind the wheel, the exhaustion finally caught up with me. I rolled both windows down, blasted music loud enough to make my ears ring, and even slapped myself across the face a few times. Nothing worked. My eyelids kept getting heavier. The last thing I remember before the crash was blinking. Then my head dipped forward for what couldn't have been more than a second. The SUV drifted across the lane, slammed into a steel guardrail, rolled violently, and crashed into a deep ditch. When everything finally stopped moving, there was only silence and the slow ticking of the engine beneath the crumpled hood. For a few seconds, I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel even though the airbags had already deflated. My ears were ringing so badly I couldn't hear anything else. When I finally managed to unbuckle my seatbelt, I practically fell out of the driver's door. My knees buckled the second they hit the wet ground. Somehow, I was still alive. My forehead was bleeding, my left arm burned from where the airbag had scraped it, and every muscle in my body ached, but nothing felt broken. The SUV wasn't going anywhere. Its front end was wrapped around a section of guardrail, and one rear wheel hung uselessly above the ditch. I reached into my pocket for my phone, hoping I could call 911. But the screen was completely shattered. It wouldn't even turn on. The fog seemed even thicker now. I couldn't see more than 20 feet in either direction. Then I noticed 2 faint yellow headlights glowing through the mist. A pickup truck. It rolled toward me at an unusually slow pace before stopping several yards ahead. Then, without warning, it shifted into reverse and backed closer until it was only a few feet away. An elderly man sat behind the wheel. He stared straight ahead without smiling or waving. Beside him was an older woman whose grin looked almost painfully wide. "You look like you could use some help," she called. Before I could answer, the old man climbed out and quietly pulled a heavy tow chain from behind the cab. It struck me as odd that he reached for it immediately, almost like he'd expected to find someone stranded. The woman stepped toward me. As she got closer, I caught a strong smell of mildew and damp earth, like she'd been standing in a flooded basement for weeks. She smiled without blinking. "The woods don't let people leave," she said softly. not without taking something first. I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking, but she didn't react. Instead, she pointed toward the bed of the truck. "You should look under the tarp." Only then did I notice a faded canvas tarp stretched tightly over something large in the back. "No, I'm okay," I said. "I just need a phone." She ignored me. "No, come look." I tried stepping around her, but she casually shifted sideways, blocking my path without ever breaking that smile. The old man still hadn't said a single word. Then the silence broke. A slow, deliberate scratching sound came from beneath the tarp. It wasn't the wind. Something underneath was moving. That's when every instinct I had screamed the same thing. These people hadn't stumbled across my wreck. They'd been waiting for someone to crash. Before I could take another step, the woman suddenly turned her head toward the truck and shouted one word: "Luke!" The tarp exploded upward. A younger man in dark clothes sprang from the truck bed so fast that I didn't even register what I was seeing at first. His hood covered most of his face, but I caught a glimpse of pale skin and a thick beard. In his right hand was a long hunting knife that reflected my headlights for just a second before he rushed me. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten me. He just came straight at me. His free hand grabbed for my jacket, but instinct took over. I threw myself backward into the muddy ditch beside the road. His fingers caught my sleeve for a split second before the fabric slipped free. Behind me, the old woman screamed, "Don't let him get away!" I scrambled to my feet and ran. I didn't stay on the road. Every instinct told me that if they got their truck moving again, I'd be trapped instead. I crashed through the trees, branches whipping across my face hard enough to leave cuts. Wet roots twisted beneath my boots, and loose rocks nearly sent me sprawling every few steps. Behind me, I heard them coming. 3 sets of footsteps, heavy, steady, never shouting. That somehow made it worse. As I glanced over my shoulder, I caught movement between the trees farther ahead. At first, I thought it was another person. Then another shape appeared farther to my left, then another. Dark silhouettes slipping silently through the fog. There was no way those 3 could have gotten in front of me that quickly, yet every few seconds I thought I saw someone standing among the trees before disappearing again. I kept running until my lungs felt like they were on fire. Finally, I spotted a massive fallen oak, its trunk thick enough to hide behind completely. I squeezed into the hollow space beneath tangled branches, covered my mouth with both hands, and forced myself not to breathe too loudly. The footsteps drew closer. Then they stopped. For several long minutes, there was nothing except the sound of water dripping from the trees. Then I heard the woman's voice. "Dylan." My stomach dropped. I had never told them my name. "Who pulled your SUV out?" She called gently. "You're safe now, come back. We only want to help." I stayed perfectly still. A few seconds later, I heard the exact same voice again. Only this time it came from somewhere much farther to my right. "Dylan, don't be afraid." Maybe it was the fog. Maybe it was the hills throwing her voice around the forest. I still don't know. I only know I didn't move a single muscle until every footstep and every voice finally faded into the darkness. I don't know how long I stayed behind that fallen tree. It felt like hours, but it was probably less than 30 minutes. I waited until the forest became completely silent before I finally crawled out. Every step back toward the road felt like a mistake. I expected someone to grab me from behind a tree or hear that old woman's voice again. But the only sounds were my boots sinking into the wet leaves and my own breathing. When I reached the ditch, I realized she lied. My SUV hadn't been pulled out at all. It was exactly where I'd left it. Every door was hanging open. My backpack had been dumped upside down, its contents scattered across the muddy ground. Clothes, chargers, maps, and tools were spread everywhere as if someone had searched every pocket. The glove compartment had been emptied onto the passenger seat, and both front seats had long knife slashes running through them. Even the dashboard had been smashed apart, like whoever did it believed I was hiding something valuable inside. The pickup truck was gone. There wasn't a single light anywhere on the road. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me from the trees. Twice I caught movement in the fog just beyond the tree line. Each time I spun around, there was nothing except branches swaying in the wind. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was fear. I honestly don't know. I stopped trying to understand it. I just ran. I followed the road without looking back, terrified that I'd hear footsteps behind me again. My legs cramped, my chest burned, and more than once I thought I was going to collapse. Somehow I kept moving. Nearly 3 hours later, I saw the glowing sign of a small 24-hour gas station. The clerk looked at me for 1 second before asking if I'd been in an accident. I must have looked terrible. My clothes were soaked with mud, my forehead was still bleeding, and I was shaking so badly I could barely answer him. He locked the front door and called 911. Deputies searched the crash site before sunrise. I told them everything I could remember about the pickup, the old couple, and the younger man. They found my SUV. They found the damage. But they told me something I've never been able to explain. There were no tire tracks from another vehicle. No footprints besides my own. Nothing to prove anyone else had ever been there. My parents were relieved I survived, but they could tell something had changed. Even now, I refuse to drive on familiar back roads after dark, because whether those people were real or whether exhaustion made me question what I saw, I still remember one thing with absolute certainty. I was not alone in those woods.